Cool. Hi everyone, Coolthany School Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Joey Badass album, 2000. This is the latest album from New York rapper Joey Badass. He's back 5 years later after the release of his last full-length LP, All American Badass, which was a mix of songs, a few very tastefully done trendy cuts, and then the kind of hard-hitting jazz rap and boom bap that he built his brand on. And again, it's been a minute since that record, and now Joey returns to us on this momentous occasion, 10 years after the release of his breakout 1999 mixtape, one of the most rugged, well-done, and exciting tapes to drop in the 2010s. With the potential Joey showed on this one, it's really no surprise that 10 years later, he still has a following. And given some of the lyrics on this thing, he doesn't really seem to be surprised either, as on the intro cut, he does not hesitate to put himself up there with J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar and like this holy trinity of hip-hop, which in terms of impact is probably an overestimation, but while Joey hasn't attained the same level of commercial success that some in his generation have, he does have plenty of longevity, artistry, and integrity to brag about, which is pretty much what 2000 is all about. Reflecting on his past, being proud of the path and choices that took him to this point, enjoying the spoils of his success while still simultaneously processing the various traumas that he suffered along the way, which, as somebody who's been listening to Joey since 1999, is good enough for me. If anything's really missing from this project, it's that, back in those days, Joey, performance-wise, was full of a bit more piss and vinegar, which, yeah, I think has vaporized a little bit on this project. And not to say that I wasn't expecting that. It was pretty clear as Joey started putting out studio albums that he was going to be heading in a mellower direction over the years. However, the results of that, on this record anyway, do result in a few bland cuts here and there. Whether you're talking about the very glossy and dreamy cruise control, or cuts with features that going into it, given the names attached, you would expect the performances, the tracks overall to be a bit more fireworks, like the very sluggish brand new 9/11 with West Side Gun, which starts pretty strong but ends very weak. And as long as I'm complaining about the features on this thing, I'm surprised Joey didn't double back and bring on people from Pro Era with this thing. So anyway, as I was saying earlier, there are some tracks on here that aren't full snoozers, but at least flirt with being snoozers, especially as they compile on top of each other in the track list, creating lulls in the first half of the LP, the second half of the LP. But with that being said, there are some very chill and heady highlights throughout this project as well, where Joey uses this more measured demeanor to say something personal or profound. Where I Belong passionately goes over the years of Joey's youth spent rapping, learning to rap, and owning the success he's earned since then with bars like "Ain't no tints on my two-door, want them to see it's us." The cut EULOGY also has a lot of bars worth chewing over. Pour thoughts and let them run, drown in emo ocean, swim in the outcome. That one is wavy and wet. Joey most definitely did not skimp on the wordplay on this one. I love the song ZIPCODES as well, with its classy rushes of keys and horns. The lengthy bass hits on the track are really gratifying too. And in terms of delivery and performance, Joey brings top-notch flows and charisma on this one. One of Us is like a sleek, old-school slow jam. Very vintage Biggie vibes coming off of this one in the best way possible. Larry June's deep and calm feature fits the tone of the track perfectly, especially with his lyrics focusing on surviving dark nights to see brighter days. Joey tries to extend the alluring vibes of the record, though, onto the song Welcome Back, featuring Chris Brown, of course, and I think the song pretty much has the opposite of its intended effect, with like these 5 or 6 auto-tuned layers of vocals that kind of sound like robots moaning or, I don't know, having an orgy or something. Plus with bars like "Suck me like oxtail off the bone." Yeah, I mean, it's really trying to be sexy, but it's landing somewhere closer to gross. If you're looking for something loving, you've got a better chance on the song "Show Me," which interestingly enough is paired with a very lovely "Men I Trust" sample. Joey drops tons of passionate and clever bars about love, trust, and devotion. And the final leg of this LP has some powerful moments too, whether that be the song "Head High," where Joey reflects on the mortality of rappers and the violence enacted against them, either by the blocks they live on or by the government. He raps about having met and connected with XXXTentacion when he was still alive. And regardless of what your thoughts are on the guy, and I certainly have my own thoughts, Joey did seem to have a genuine connection with him personally and artistically, and it was interesting and moving to see him go into the details of that a little bit here. There's also Survivor's Guilt, which is maybe one of Joey's most immense songs ever, one of his most most long-awaited as well, I would say, as the track is essentially about the late capital Steez, which is a topic that Joey has been tight-lipped on for a very long time, at least in terms of coming out with a full-length track focusing on it in a very intense way, which I think it says something for Joey to do a track like this at this point, because for years now, he could have easily done track after track after track, capital Steez this, capital Steez that, but no, he waited until this time to do a song that focused on it in this way, on a record that kind of commemorates that time where we remember Joey and Capital the most fondly. And lyrically, yes, the track is amazing. It's devastating. It is a great tribute to their friendship and Capital Steez in general, and just the pain that Joey went through as a result of his passing, him feuding with his family, which fans caught wind of online, and also Joey putting some of the blame on himself, talking about not being there enough for him when he was going through his really intense depression. On the second verse of this track, Joey goes into the passing of his cousin, which is also quite touching, going into how these deaths kind of had him silent, and now he finally has the energy and the clarity to be able to speak on them on a track like this. And yeah, it's just really a super powerful moment on this record that I don't think, you really can't take anything away from it. Now, Written in the Stars, the closing track, I thought was okay. It kind of ends how I guessed this record would. Really a very expensive sounding credits roll moment with tons of string sections packed into the beat. Lots of references to trips and luxury cars, Joey saying his life is a movie. Also saying that his stock is like a teenage cock. It stays up. I mean, yeah, again, it's okay. I'm just kind of surprised that at the end of all of this, especially after such an intense track, Joey doesn't have more substantive parting words to give fans outside of, I'm doing well, I'm making money, I'm doing well, I'm making money, I'm doing well. So even if this moment is a little lacking, I can say at least most of the content in between the intro and the closer is very solid. Yes, there are some mid-tracks, but it's mostly highlights. There are tons of reflections packed into each of these tracks, some which are pretty deep, some not as much. And while sometimes the songwriting and the production here does lack a little punch, Joey's second nature for rapping and lyricism easily makes up for some of those shortcomings. To be honest, I'm not as in love with this record as I am All-American Badass, much less anything from Joey's 1999 era, but this is still a very solid attempt at looking back on those days, everything that's brought him to this point, and I'm feeling a light to decent 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video for you to check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Joey Badass, forever.